So for number 1, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the vertical asymptote? We're only looking at the denominator for this. Okay? So when we're just looking at the denominator, it's x plus 2 equals 0, right? So what's my vertical asymptote going to be? Negative 2. So I'm going to go through and put an asymptote at negative 2 right here. Hopefully it's bright enough where you guys can see it. Okay? All right. Now, I want to know what my vertical, I already know what my vertical is. I want to know what my horizontal asymptote is. Okay, so this, the top part of my fraction, what is the degree of that?
0.
It's 0 because there's no x up there. And the degree on the bottom part is what?
1.
1. So since it's 0 is less than 1, what is my, my horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 0. All right, so what I want to do now is go ahead and put in my horizontal asymptote, which happens to be at 0, so I'm going to put that in right here. Okay? So, we want to now find the intercepts for this one. So if I put in 0 equals 3 over x plus 2 to find my x-intercepts. If I multiply both sides by this right here, that all becomes 0 on the left side, right? So it'd be 0, and then these cancel, equals 3. Does that even tell us anything? Nothing. So that tells us that we have no x-intercept. I took the denominator.
We already know that because that's what we have.
Right, and that's kind of... So we already know that there is no x-intercept. Now we want to find the y-intercept. So to do that, I'm just going to say y equals 3, and I'm going to change my x value to 0 plus 2. So what is my y-intercept in this case? 3 halves. So if I go over here at 1.5, which is 3 halves, and put a little dot there, that's where my function crosses the y-axis. It's right here. Okay? All right, so I already know one point here, and because of my asymptotes being right here and right here, I could probably put in what my my function will be on this side. I know it's going to follow close to the asymptote line and close to that asymptote line, so I could put that in. But the thing is, I don't know anything about my lines on this side. So I need to test it out. What I'm going to do right now is put in something, x value from this side. I have, let's put in negative 3 because that's right here, right? So if I put in y equals 3 over negative 3 plus 2, I get 3 over negative 1. So that's going to be a negative 3. So at this point right here at negative 3, my value of my y is at negative 3. Basically, I'm doing a t-chart. Remember doing those earlier? Where I put in various terms for x and y? I put in negative 3 for x, and I got out a positive 3 for y. So I got a point right here. So what do you think my graph is going to look like on this side? It's going to be the same thing, the opposite direction. Yep. Something like that. It should have gone through that point, though, right there. There. Okay, so number 5. What is my vertical asymptote? Okay, so x equals 4, because I got that from this. All right, so at x equals 4, I'm going to put in a asymptote there. Okay, what is my horizontal asymptote? Okay, and you get that because notice that the degree on the top is a 1, the degree on the bottom is a 1. They're equal. So we're going to take the coefficients, the numbers in front of the x's. What are those numbers that are not even present? They're 1 and 1, right? So y is going to be equal to 1 in this case. And I am going to put in an asymptote right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to erase some of this stuff so I can look at my function again. I'm going to now look at my x-intercepts. So if I put in 0 for y, and I have x minus 1 on the top and x minus 4 on the bottom, what happens to my x minus 4? It basically cancels out because I'm multiplying both sides by x minus 4. When you times a 0 by x minus 4, it goes away. So I'm left with 0 equals x minus 1. So what is my x intercept here? 1. So I'm going to put in a dot right here. Now we're going to do the same thing for the y-intercept. I have y equals 0 minus 1 over 0 minus 4. So what is my y-intercept? 1/4. And that is just going to be barely above the 0 right there. So I have 2 points here. I have 2 asymptote lines. I can follow those asymptote lines, go through those points. It's going to be something like this. Is there a hole in this one? Because nothing was canceled. So there's no hole in this case.
1, 2, 10.
Okay, before we go on to 10, what happens on this side of the graph? So we need to plug in something. So let's plug in 5, maybe? So if I plug in 5 for x, so you can pick any number above the asymptote line. So 5 minus 1 over 5 minus 4. That's going to be 4 over 1. So if I go to the number 5 and go up to 4, it's 3, 4 right here. Oops. I know my point is up in this section. So my graph is going to probably do this. Did I do 4, 4 or 5? Should be 5, 4. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Do we always have to graph both?
Yes. The reason I checked it because it could have ended up in this section. If I didn't have that, I could have accidentally.
So do you have to check like a negative number to see if it's all there?
Nope, you just check the x value beyond the asymptote. Okay? So that blue line isn't not actually in existence there. It's just where we checked it. Make sure it's not on the bottom. All right. Okay, what is our vertical asymptotes in this case? Yep, x equals 1 and x equals -5. So if I go to my graph, I'm going to plug those in. And at -5, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's it right there, isn't it? It's hard to see. Okay? Okay, so what is my horizontal asymptote in this case? It's at 0 because my degree on the top is 0. My degree on the bottom is 2 because there's 2 x's here. And 0 is less than 2, so it would be y equals 0. So I'm going to draw a horizontal asymptote right here. All right. So what is my y-intercept here? So I can do 4 over 0 minus 1 and 0 plus 5. Yep, so it'll be 4 over -5. So it will be like right about here. My x-intercepts. Do I have an x-intercept? No, because if I put in 0, this cancels out on the bottom, right? 0 does not equal 4, so there's no x-intercept. So I only have 1 point here that has given me any value, and I know nothing about anything else. So what do I need to do? Plug in some other values. Because this is below the asymptote lines here, I'm going to guess that this is going to do something like this. But I need to check to the right of that and to the left of that. So let's plug in a number. Let's plug in 2. So if I put 4 over 2 minus 1, yeah, that was right here.